All right, you guys, the Stadia system from Google has been in the news a lot. I see YouTube videos like crazy. Most of them are incredibly negative about the people's Stadia experience. And I am a founder. I purchased the pack as soon as they became available. I was very anxious to see what Google was up to with this technology. Certainly, they've got all the money in the bank and all the money that they could ever want to make something like this a success. If any company out there could do it, it was going to be Google. And they have had a miserable launch. There is no two ways about this. They really screwed the pooch with the way that they have shipped this thing out there. I ordered my system in June, and on November 19th was the launch day. I received the notice that my system was shipping, and my system, consists of the Google Ultra Chrome. What's it? The Chromecast Ultra, which I didn't have, so that you could also play your movies and your music and all that stuff through your system if you needed to, and the Stadia controller, which I forgot to have on the desk with me here, but you guys have probably seen what it looks like. And it gave you a couple of free games. Destiny 2, which is, a ridiculously fun and expansive first-person shooter, which has been outfitted with all kinds of new content just in time for the Stadia's launch, which was a good choice, I think, to launch with the system. A little underwhelming because it's been around for so long, but still pretty cool. And the other one was Samurai Shodown, which is honestly one of the most enjoyable fighting games of 2019. There haven't been that many, but I love the fact that SNK went back to revisit one of my favorite fighting game franchises of all time. Say that 10 times fast. And they brought that back, and it's available as a free pack-in for Stadia. So it's like, okay, the controller, the Chromecast Ultra, and a couple of games. Not a bad deal in terms of what you're getting out of the box. $130, probably about $150 or something all in when you get it shipped to you. Not cheap. I was pissed off that I got the shipping notice on launch day, and then a couple of days later I got the code so that I could actually work the thing. I had to figure out that the app that I had downloaded to my iPhone wouldn't let me connect through my business Gmail account, because we use Gmail for a lot of business stuff. So I had to create a brand new Gmail account in order to log in order to see if Stadia was going to work or not. And I didn't want to access the code until I got the controller and the Ultra, because I wanted to see what Stadia was going to work like on my TV. It was cumbersome, and it's clunky, and Google has completely, stood up and said that, yes, this is going to get easier, and we're still in early days with all of this stuff. But the fact that you need to load on a separate app, a Google Home app, in order to access the Google Chromecast Ultra, and then you also have to load in the Stadia app, which needs to sync up with your controller, which has to go through your Wi-Fi. There's a lot of little moving widgets and parts in there that can go wrong. They also suggest, and I think that this is really cool, I talked about this in my unboxing, that you should use wired Ethernet in order to get the best bandwidth possible out of your internet. And they've actually put the Ethernet port right into the power plug for the Chromecast Ultra, which is pretty cool. So you got this tiny little device that is, for all intents and purposes, your console on your television. So a pain in the ass how it arrived and how to set it all up. Let's push that aside. Once I got it going, I became very impressed. The stuff works. And we tested it out. We did a Let's Play right here while we were streaming. And so we were streaming the show using our bandwidth here. And we had the Chromecast Ultra HD plugged into our Ethernet, and we were streaming live. Kurt was up on stage, playing some of the games, and everything was working. And I was kind of shocked that it was able to do that. And so over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've obviously been playing a lot of Stadia games. I checked out Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I think is arguably the nicest looking of these this launch assortment of titles right now. It actually looks really, really solid. Red Dead Redemption 2, which I think was a nice feather in the cap of Stadia to have it on this system. It's system service at the same time as it's hitting the PC. I think that's a big win for Stadia, because a lot of people that are in that PC realm have never touched this game. and here's another option for them. And I checked out NBA 2K20, which runs pretty damn sweet as well. Of course, Destiny 2 and Samurai Shodown we played quite a bit of. I checked out the only exclusive, the lone exclusive for Stadia at launch is Guilt from Tequila Works, and it's cutesy. It's kind of like a kid version of Resident Evil, where you're a little kid trying to figure out where your cousin has gone to, and there's little monsters and stuff, and you got to stay out of the light. Pretty simplistic, and it looked like it had come together fairly quickly. It's certainly not like a AAA marquee, oh my God, have you played Guilt type of experience, but I think it's cool that Google is paying for things to get made for the service. So I tested it out at home, where it runs on my LG OLED TV at 4K, but only at 21. I don't know what all the definitions of the 4K is. It's Ultra HD, but it's like double the 1080p. It's not quadruple the 1080p. But it runs at 60 frames per second, and it's very, very solid, very fast internet. I'm on a 150 up, 150 down at home, so no problems running the service just fine using wired internet. We're also on about 100. We're 300 down and 100 up here at the VFS Cafe, and we ran it wirelessly, through Wi-Fi here, and it ran great. And we tested it out on the 4K televisions here. We're recording a lot of the footage that you're seeing as I'm talking here just today, but we also wanted to test, and all of that footage is in 1080p because we stream out at 1080p, so there was no reason to record it at 4K and then stream it out at 1080p. But we tested it out on the 4K HDMI port at first, just to make sure that it was coming in and playing smoothly through the at 4K through Wi-Fi, and that's exactly what it was doing. So we tested out Red Dead Redemption 2, which looks absolutely amazing, and we tested out Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is also stunningly beautiful, and same with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and 4K HDR, 60 frames per second. Actually 30 frames per second on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm pretty sure. It's hard to remember all these numbers. But pretty high spec. Certainly not better than the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4 Pro. I did some comparisons where I checked it out against my Xbox One X version of Red Dead Redemption 2 and my Xbox One X version of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and you could see a lot more granular detail in the environments. Everything just looks sharper. There is a little bit of a smushiness to the visual fidelity, even though it's fluid and there is detail. It's a little bit smoothed out. It's almost like there's Vaseline on everything. I hate to be too overly dramatic with the words that I use, but it certainly looks a little less crisp than it does running off of local Xbox One X hardware, and that was noticeable to my eyes. But I think that if I handed the control, and I honestly, I feel like Google's probably going to do this taste test, this Pepsi taste test thing in shopping malls, where they're going to have people be able to walk up and play a game on a console, and people be able to walk up and play a game on Stadia, and they're going to have to decide which is which. I can see that that's going to be a way, it's going to be a way to test whether people are going to notice the latency issues, or they're going to notice any frame rate hiccups or anything like that. Technically, I didn't notice any hitches when I was playing at home or when I was playing here. There might have been a couple of little warbles based on stuff loading in, or in the case of Samurai Shodown, there's actually some hesitations based on dramatic moves and stuff, which can make it look like there is like a loading issue, but that's part of the way that the game plays out. It's like just before there's a big dismemberment slice or something like that in Samurai Shodown, they slow things down, and then that strike comes in, and then the blood comes up. But if you're playing on Stadia, you're looking for every single hiccup and every single issue. So technically, it's pretty cool. It's not better than what you get at home now. And the problem that Stadia has, there's a bunch, but one of the problems that Stadia has is they've sold this into people that already have fast internet and probably have consoles and probably have libraries of all of this stuff. But we're all a lot of people like me out there are curious, and we want to see if, in fact, this is the future of media consumption. And to those people, Google has made promises that what they're going to deliver through their service is better than what we can get locally, better looking, up to 8K and 60 frames per second. We're nowhere near that, That being said, we know that Google isn't quite done with their investments into this. We haven't heard much from Google since this has launched, and I think that there has been a noticeable step backwards. They just let it ship out, let this noise sort of filter through the internet, and a lot of the anger rise up, and people just say, "No, I'm never going to do this. I'm only ever going to have physical copies of things." I think they recognize that this could have been a much stronger launch for this platform. But I don't think that they're anywhere near done, and I also think that streaming is going to become a massive part of both Xbox and PlayStation's future for the new machines. I think that they're both going to be subscription-based services attached to these consoles, and all of their first-party exclusives are going to be a part of this subscription thing. EA is clearly moving in this direction as well, and I think we're probably going to see subscription services partnered with Stadia. None of this stuff I can confirm right now for you, but what Stadia has done is I think that they have moved into the marketplace with a product that you can actually go and buy if you're inclined to, and see that it actually does work. Is it clunky? Hell yes. Is it at better fidelity than we have right now with our best machines? No. Is there a long way to go? Yes. I think it's unbelievably weird that Google didn't partner with some kind of digital storefront, maybe through an acquisition. Obviously, to buy Steam or to partner with Steam would be a massive deal, but there are other digital storefronts out there that they could have partnered with. I think that is the best case solution for any game player. It's like, look, if you don't have the fast enough bandwidth, you can choose to download it. And it seems weird to me that Google hasn't done that. And it seems weird to me that they haven't intimated that that's part of their plans. Also, it seems weird that there isn't a better value for the founders out there. It feels like this next month's worth of, this month's free games are Tomb Raider and Farming Simulator 2019. No shade at you, Farming Simulator. I know some people love that kind of stuff, but those aren't sexy games. It's Tomb Raider, the definitive edition, which came out, 5-6 years ago? Kind of a sexy game 5 or 6 years ago. They need to fix that messaging and make it all much more interesting and much more palatable. It's still very early days. I don't regret being a founder. I got the gamer tag that I wanted, and obviously I've been able to test out a bunch of software and see that it works. I also recognize that there is this real hesitation to purchase these games because we don't know if Google is going to close up shop in a couple of years because it's not working the way that they want it to. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but I do know that video games aren't going anywhere, and I think any technology company that isn't associated somewhat with video games as part of an entertainment diet is missing out on a huge chunk of attention and eyeballs, and that's why Google's in this space. Make no mistake, they recognize how much money video games bring into companies. They make a fortune on mobile games. And I also believe that they're going to be constantly adjusting their partnerships and the way that they serve this material for a long time to come. And also, I think what they've launched with is a service that is supposed to placate existing partnerships that companies already have to sell their software. That's why games are priced too high, and that's why more games aren't included with that Founders Pack. That would have, I think that if Google had said every founder gets every game on the store at launch, that would have been oh my God, right? Everybody would have completely gone, why didn't I jump into this? And the flipping the bad news discussion completely in a 180 degrees would be achieved just by that. Now, hopefully what Google does to placate the disappointment that a lot of founders have been feeling is something equivalent to what Nintendo did with the launch of the 3DS, which, if you can all remember, within a year they dropped the price and they gave people a bunch of free games that had already purchased the 3DS, and supported the machine. Hopefully Google does something similar to that. But I also feel like once Google has enough people sort of in this marketplace, they're going to change up the way that they serve all of this content, and the pricing is going to be adjusted, and it could be very damn cool. A lot of couldas, and there's a lot of shouldas in this whole conversation as well. The last thought that I have about Stadia is that people's hesitation to purchase full-price video games, and they're just part of a digital service. I counter that with there are a lot of people out there that pay $25 when a movie hits the Google Play store or the iTunes movie store. $25 for a digital movie, and basically access to that thing. And I think there's an equivalency there. But I also feel like we're on the precipice of everything completely changing, and subscription is going to be a massive part of that. So that's why Google is here, and technologically it's working, but it should impress us more, and they should have had a way cooler launch. And honestly, I hope that they do a big chunk of, they put a big effort into a make good on how this has all been handled so far. I'm not a miserable Google Stadia player. It certainly works, and it's certainly cool to revisit some classic games like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a total masterpiece, or Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I just appreciate more and more over time. But yeah, the library should be bigger, better values, more freebies for the people that are there at the beginning, and let's see what they're up to in 2020. As it stands right now, I don't think the Stadia is ready for everybody, and it's certainly not ready for prime time. And you have to definitely look at your internet caps and how much it would cost you to constantly stream all this stuff, and how much value you would legitimately get out of this thing. But as it stands right now, I give the launch of Google Stadia about a 6.5 because honestly I like the controller. I think the controller is pretty damn cool. Okay, so those are my thoughts on Google Stadia for now. I would definitely have a lot more to talk about with Stadia, and I'm looking forward to reviewing exclusive games on this service.